welcome back everyone to 306 Fantasy Football. Today is episode 13. It is the Scotty Fishbowl special. And because I am a great procrastinator and I did not enter in to apply for the Scotty Fishbowl, I get to host this one because I don't have a team in it. But I'm joined here today with Jordan and Zach, who both got into one of the satellite tournaments in the Fishbowl here. So let's start off with Jordan. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Just happy as can be. My classes are officially over. I'm gonna be on holidays here, heading up to Waskesiu pretty quick. So things are going well for me.
Nice. And Zach, how are you today?
Doing pretty good. The weather's still nice and toasty, and the smoke's finally cleared in Saskatoon. So looking forward to getting outside today and tomorrow.
Yeah, it was getting quite smoky there for a few days up in PA as well, and but I'm doing pretty good myself. I got my first few practices in for rugby here, and it's been pretty exciting. I'm not cleared for contact yet, but been able to play some scrimmage and do a few drills, which has been a lot of fun, and I'm getting excited to get back on the rugby pitch here. All right, so let's go into the Scotty Fishbowl here. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Scotty Fishbowl is, how it is formatted, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your guys' draft, how you strategize for it, your favorite picks, and then your least favorite picks, and some of your initial thoughts on the draft. All right, so let's go right into it here. Jordan, can you tell the viewers here who might not know about the Scotty Fishbowl what it is exactly here?
Yeah, for sure. So Scott Fishbowl, this is the 11th season of it, and it is a 100% charity event. So people from across the world, as we will attest to that we're even in our divisions as well, get together, and it's an opportunity, the trending of hashtag Fantasy Cares, and then it's operated through the Scott Fishbowl, obviously, and it's a chance to basically promote fantasy football and an ability to not only promote fantasy football but also kind of network with a bunch of people that are on the same idea of this fantasy platform. Getting together, I know a lot of people will get on each other's podcasts and stuff like that and be able to talk about their experiences throughout the season. They'll talk about what's going on in their league and stuff like that, and we're all doing it to try and promote a great cause through charity. The big one through the main Fishbowl, a lot of people donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital in the United States there. Obviously for us, we're not in the States, so it would be kind of silly for us to donate to a charity that we don't really we wouldn't really promote maybe, or something that we don't see in our necessary backyard. So for myself, I'm making the donation to the kids sport here in Prince Albert. So for my donation to the cause will be obviously something that'll promote children and youth within our community.
And Zach, is yours going towards kids sport as well, or who did you pick?
The guys in our league are doing something a little bit different, or my division, I should say. We're doing a thing where I believe the winner gets to choose where the pot goes. So if the winner is from Spain, they get to choose which charity in Spain gets the prize pool, and if a guy from BC wins, then a charity out in BC gets the donation. So everybody has a little something to play for that way. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, we couldn't get everybody to buy into that, but there's about 5 or 6 of us in our division that are doing that. We couldn't try to get everybody into our group chat. Not everybody jumped in, which is fine, but we got about 5 or 6 guys that are kind of doing the same idea as Zach as well too. So most of us did our little standard donation that we kind of thought we were going to do, and all of a sudden the guy threw in the idea, hey, let's do this as well too. So we're kind of piggybacking on Zach's idea as well.
Yeah, it's a great cause to support local and the local charities, but also just the whole big grand picture of it as well, to really use fantasy football to have a good purpose and positive impact on society here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the chance of you actually winning this is like next to zero. Like it's as close to zero as you can possibly get. So that was the whole message that's throughout the draft with guys on Twitter and guys networking with each other in group chats or whatever was you're probably not going to win this. So there's no point stressing over it real bad. Like, let's have fun. The whole purpose is charity and networking is kind of the premise. So, I mean, if you win, obviously that's a huge plus, and that's big kudos to you if you do win. But the whole idea was kind of like you had mentioned, Armin, the charity and the networking and having fun with people within the industry.
Yeah. How much is the entry fee?
$0. In the past, they had done it. It was $10, and then all that money went to charity. But now what they've been doing is it's $0, and then people can donate the percentage of whatever they would like to donate. I know there are some teams where they run a team of a group of 3, so then obviously they donate maybe a little bit more money. Some of the celebrities that are in there, they're donating significantly more than $10. And then there's obviously you can kind of donate whatever you see, like Zach's group. The donation will be a decent lump sum because it's going to be accumulated over their entire teams. So, but the actual entry fee is $0.
All right, perfect. All right, Zach. Just to kind of give people an idea here about how big it is. How many leagues are there? How many managers are there in the Scotty Fishbowl, and who are some of the notable managers that you know about?
So there are 1,920 teams that are in the Scott Fishbowl, and out of those nearly 2,000 teams, they are chosen out of 12,500 applicants. So the people that got in are pretty lucky that they got in. And some of the notable personalities or the notable teams would be guys like Rich Dotson from the Dynasty Nerds, Michael Fabiano, Matthew Barry, Kyle Yates. I believe the Fantasy Footballers have a team as a group of them. Steph Smalls, who is an emerging fantasy writer on Twitter. So it's really a who's who of the fantasy community internationally. So it's really cool.
And she's the best. I remember when she only had like a couple hundred followers, and all of a sudden it seemed like overnight she had like 15,000 followers, and she just became like this Twitter sensation in the fantasy industry. Big time Giants fan too. I feel bad for her, but
I gotta feel bad for any Giants fan some days. Eh?
That's coming from a Lions fan, like really.
Brighter days for them though. They got their QB now, unlike the Lions fans.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Jordan, can you tell us a little bit about the scoring format of the Fishbowl here?
Yeah, for sure. So the scoring is a little bit interesting. They change it up year to year. So the big thing is that really accurate quarterbacks are huge, or rushing quarterbacks that don't throw the ball a whole heck of a lot, I think are kind of one of the things that are a little bit different because, I mean, everybody's ripping on Lamar. He doesn't throw the ball much, but in this one, if an incomplete pass is a -1 point automatically, same as taking a sack is -1 point. So that's kind of a huge difference than your standard leagues. So 6 points for throwing, 6 points for throwing and rushing touchdown, -4 points for interception. So for some of those leagues, I know those are pretty standard across a couple of my leagues, but maybe not standard across the majority of the leagues. The other big positions would be tight ends. It's a tight end premium league. So you get a half point reception standard, but then if you're a tight end, you get another half point for the receptions. And then in the league, you also get a half point for first downs, where tight ends, if you get a first down, you get the full 1 point. So tight ends are really, really huge in this league, especially because of how big of a league it is. The position is scarce. So if you have one of those big names, like say like a Travis Kelce last year, where in majority of leagues, he was outscoring most of the top receivers. Like I think he would have finished as like the number 3 receiver in fantasy football. In this format, he would have surpassed that by almost double, right? I mean, the yardages still stay the same, but your first downs and your receptions are doubling. So, so players like Travis Kelce or Darren Waller are extremely, extremely valuable in this format. So, you have to start 1 quarterback. You have to start 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and then after that, it's kind of a flex city, and you can do start a super flex. So one of those flex positions is a super flex. And then new this year to the Scott Fish Bowl, they brought place kickers in. And I'm just trying to scroll down here to find the scoring for place kickers, because I know it is kind of funky. I think it's if you miss, it's automatic -3 points if you miss, and then for the yardages, so on and so forth, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. If I remember correctly, I'm just trying to find it. But the place kicker one is brand new to this year, so that was kind of a little bit of a wrinkle into the whole drafting strategy. Was, are you going to take a kicker because you don't need one, but you can put it in the flex position? So I know when Zach and I had talked about what our strategy was, a little bit about it was maybe the whole high ceiling is unlikely, because for a kicker to get 22 points is not something that you can consistently bank on. But kickers like Justin Tucker, or kickers like maybe like last year was like Sanders, they were going to give you that steady floor of like 10, 11, 12 points. But it's pretty unlikely to get the 20, 22, 23, 24 kind of point weeks. So we kind of bought into the idea of maybe having one, because if a receiver kind of craps the bed, then at least you have that standard floor of a kicker. So I know I did see leagues where guys were taking 5, 6 kickers, and it was like, oh man, like you're buying into the whole system here. But that's not my cup of tea. But that's in a nutshell, that's really the scoring format. It is half point PPR, super flex, but with obviously a little bit of wrinkle in there for specific positions.
Yeah, with that those rules for quarterback with the negative points, it really separates the great quarterbacks from those average ones. Hey,
Big time.
Most leagues would be a great fantasy asset, but might not be so much in this league.
Absolutely.
And then I also like the tight end premium, because we've talked about how important having a good tight end in fantasy is in the past, and this just brings it to another level as well, making it even more important to make sure you get one of those top end tight ends.
Absolutely.
So going into it, then bunch of different rules that you guys might not have used before or used very much before. So what was kind of your initial strategy, you guys, going into it? We'll start with Zach here.
So when you get placed into your division, you're given your draft slot about 2 or 3 weeks in advance. So I was picking 11th overall, and I really thought there was a good chance that Darren Waller was going to fall to me. So from day one up until draft day, I was really considering going Darren Waller, and then hoping to grab a quarterback after with my second pick. So I was thinking tight end, quarterback to start my draft initially. But then as I did more research and I started looking at some of the teams that were successful last year, like Travis Kelce was just like a cheat code. Almost all the top teams had Kelce, but lots of the other successful teams were quarterback and running back driven. So then I had like an internal dilemma. Do I go tight end quarterback, or do I go quarterback running back? So on draft day, Darren Waller went one pick before it was my turn. He went 10th overall. So that made my decision pretty easy to go quarterback. And then I followed that up later on with a running back. So I don't know what I would have done if Waller was there for my first pick, but I was happy that I didn't have to make that decision. So
yeah, and that is a good example of what we've talked about in the past, of letting the draft come to you, right? You had a few strategies in mind, and then you kind of let the draft decide for you what you wanted to do, instead of trying to force something that maybe you didn't feel comfortable with, like taking a tight end there that you maybe didn't actually want. Jordan, how about you? What was your strategy kind of going in, and how did it change?
Well, the old saying, was it Mike Tyson? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Well, I was punched in the mouth about 13 minutes into our draft, I think. About 90% of my mocks, I ended up with Travis Kelce, was just because like your big names, your CMC, and then your 3 big quarterbacks were going And then it was usually Travis Kelce landing in that 105 spot. So when we were leading up to the draft, I was saying to Zach, I said, like, I have to take Kelce, like, especially in our 105 group chat, everybody's like, yeah, Kelce 105. And then as soon as it came to the draft, a lot of guys like, no, I'm pivoting last second. It's like, what the hell is going on? Like, you prepped for the draft and all of a sudden you just made that panic decision to change your mind. Like, tweet your own, I guess. But for me, it was like I was locked in at Travis Kelce. I figured the big quarterbacks were going to go. The number one running back who I would have wanted to take was going to go. Then after that, I was looking at kind of the next tier quarterbacks, maybe Dalvin Cooks, where I could probably find some running back value later, but the big name quarterbacks had gone. Okay, well, who's going to be the biggest difference maker on my team? Obviously, Travis Kelce. Zach mentioned, like, he's a cheat code, especially with this tight end premium. I mean, he hangs around with the number one receivers as is, let alone with the tight end premium. So I was going to lock in at Kelce, and he went 102 in my draft. So all of a sudden, the strategy got thrown out the window. I was like, okay, well, because all my mocks were like, okay, well, I want to see who falls after that. Where can I try and get my quarterbacks? What are the running backs I might be able to sneak up later? Because those of you that take tight ends early in draft, you know that, well, now you're giving up a prime position in a quarterback, especially super flex, or you're giving up opportunities of getting prime running backs, especially how fast running backs come off the board. So I almost had a little bit of a panic, and luckily it's a slow draft. I could sit and think, but Kelce went. I'm just going to pull it up here and tell you exactly the order, because I was actually really happy with how it went, because I was kind of surprised. Pat Mahomes went 101 after about a 6-hour wait. Then Travis Kelce. Then Kyler Murray went, and he was kind of the guy I was thinking about right around that 105 position. And then it was left between Christian McCaffrey and Josh Allen, who were my like 101, 102, 103. I thought in some fashion or some order was going to be Mahomes, McCaffrey, Allen. And somehow McCaffrey and Allen, one of them was going to be on my team. So I was like, hey, well, my decision's easy. Set the queue, and whoever rolls, I'm taking. And McCaffrey, one of the guys from Dynasty Nerds took McCaffrey at 104. So I was very, very happy to jump on Allen at the 105 position. So my strategy, and I'm sure Zach can attest this, as we were doing our mocks, my mocks looked 100% different than what my team ended up going. And I mean, we mocked a little bit to prep, and so we knew where ADP was and where guys are going to kind of land in and kind of anticipate, but it got thrown to the wolves in a hurry. And once again, ADP is only, it tells you what everybody's going to do, but it doesn't, like, as a blanket. But there's always the wild cards and guys that are willing to take their guys early, and it changed in a hurry for us, that's for sure. So
yeah, after hearing that, I wonder how many times Josh Allen actually fell to 105 in those satellite leagues there.
I saw a tweet, and a guy said, in my very first Scott Fishbowl league, I'm making my pick of Josh Allen at 108. And I was like, that is like a steal. And I saw a guy making Kelce at 109. It was like, what the hell is going on? But I guess when you throw a couple thousand people together, there's going to be some wild cards and guys that take the guys they want to do. But maybe not how I would have taken the start, but I'm more than happy to have Josh Allen as my QB1. So
yeah, to build off that a little bit. So like as the draft was unfolding, lots of people were posting pictures of their draft or little announcements for each pick. And Dynasty Rich with the Dynasty or the Dynasty Nerds podcast, really like knowledgeable analyst. He was picking in the 10 hole, and he got Josh Allen at 110, and then coming back at 2-3 got Kyler Murray. Like,
oh wow!
I think those were like probably, well, they were for sure two of my top like 5 picks.
Yeah,
if I had the choice, and he got them with like insane value. So every little division, every 12-team division was so different. Like in ours, Mark Andrews went in the 2nd round. Jordan, you got Andrews in the 4th or the 5th round.
Yeah.
So like
it was bizarre. Like, we were talking in our group chats, and it was like, okay, like, I'm thinking about taking this. Well, I wasn't much of that guy, because I didn't want to like have the guy's influence. I was more of like, guys are asking me, where have guys been going in your draft? But there's a lot of guys saying, I'm here, who should I take? And it's like, guys, like pick your own team, like have fun with it. Like it's the Scott Fish, let's have some fun. But
Yeah.
that was a lot of the premise of the group chats. But and then a lot of the guys are asking, okay, where has this guy gone? I'm up in 7 picks. I'm eyeing this guy up. Can I wait around? That was a lot of the discussions. But I mean, it was so different. Like there are some leagues where all 5 big name tight ends went in the first 2 rounds. Ours, we waited until like the 5th round, and all of a sudden, then I started a tight end run where 3 of the big names went boom, boom, boom right in a row. There were some leagues where there wasn't a receiver drafted until the 7th round. Well, ours was receiver happy, so that's why I got a little bit of value where I did. But like some leagues, quarterbacks were all off the board. Where my league, once again, I got to wait a little bit, and so that's where maybe on some other positions I got to stack up a little bit and weaker in other ones. And as the moral of the story is, there's approximately 100 different leagues, like because there was eight divisions per conference, I believe, and then there's 20 conferences, and then there's 12 teams per conference, and then the same thing with the satellites. So obviously each draft was so different. It was hard to anticipate, be like, oh, my guy went in the 8th round, the guy's like, oh well, he went in 4th in mine. It's like, well, like there's no rhyme or reason.
It's like you're playing a game of chicken almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, you're getting all this information from different ADP websites that are tracking the data live. You're getting all this information from your buddies or from the like pick group chats. And it's like, okay, like he went in the 13th round. I can wait. I don't need to take him because I'm 5 rounds out. And then bang, he goes in the 8th round, and you're just like, well,
that was Jamal Williams for me. He went early in mine, and I was choked. So I thought I could have waited. But the analogy that you said, playing the game of chicken, couldn't have been a more of a perfect analogy. Like when we were talking back and forth between the two of us, like what did I wait, like 5 rounds for my QB2? It was like in our rankings, it was like, okay, I'm going to take these guys in this range, this guy's in this range. And then there was about 3 quarterbacks I'd have been happy with as my QB2. So I was like, I'll just keep waiting. I'll keep playing the game. And all of a sudden I was texting Zach. I'm like, man, it's been 4 rounds. I'm still playing the game. Like nobody else started a quarterback run. And I was like, as soon as that run starts, I'll take one. But then it got to like the 8th round, I think it was the 6th round or 7th. I can't remember, I'll have to check. But it was like
Patrick in the 6th.
There we go. So the 6th round, finally I took my quarterback 2. And then it was like from when I took Fitzpatrick to my next pick, I think like 8 quarterbacks went off the board. And I was like, okay, well, thank God I did, because maybe if the run would have happened earlier, I would have missed out on my guys. But that's where we talked about let the draft come to you. Because I was ready and locked to take my quarterback 2, like in the 3rd or 4th round, maybe like somewhere in that ballpark range. But I kept waiting, and I got lucky. I also could have played the game of chicken. I could have had like, I don't know, some scrub as like I could have Jared Goff as my quarterback too. Like we could have been in trouble, but
making Sundays even more stressful.
Oh yeah, I have them a couple leagues, so it's stressful enough as it is.
So what were you guys' overall experience then with the draft and everything? Was it positive, negative? What were some of the big takeaways besides what we talked about already with letting the draft come to you?
I'll go first. Yeah, I had a really fun experience with it. Just being part of something that's, as big as it is, it's definitely a change from the, like your buddy drafts, your university friend drafts, your workplace drafts. So that was really neat to be a part of. And then just like having the networking opportunities with the like pick group chats, and then our group or our league group chat, we have 10 out of the 12 managers in it. So that was really a cool experience. And then just communicating with different owners from, around the world on Twitter was really fun as well. I would like to think that I'm a patient person in most parts of my life, but I did have a hard time waiting for some of our managers to pick. Being an 8-hour clock, there was a few times where I'm like, oh my God, like, what are we doing here? We're going on hour 7, and you just took like, I don't know, Josh Jacobs. Like you're debating Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders for 7 hours. Like,
and you take
what
the
are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it shouldn't be that hard, but we came to find out eventually that we had two owners in Spain, and there's an 8-hour time difference. So that definitely made things at times a little frustrating. But after like the second day, we realized this is how it's going to be. So overall, though, it was a fantastic experience, and I count myself lucky to be involved in it for sure.
But talking about the slow draft, like I think was a difference what 10 days ours finished compared to yours. So like
Yeah.
in perspective, 10 days is a long time for a draft to run, let alone run that much longer than another one. Like we started slow, but we got luck. I mentioned in the previous episode that I think it was 2 episodes ago that we had a guy in Australia, so like completely opposite end of the spectrum, but he set pre-draft. So if it wasn't for him, our draft would have been obviously just as long. So we got pretty lucky with him helping the boys out there. But I'm just gonna like recap same as Zach. Like it was just one awesome experience to be acknowledged and have a little bit of fun with some of the big names in the industry, and the group chats were obviously a blast. And then when you finally go through some of the names, like I know in our 105 group chat, man, there were some big names in there, and obviously we were in a satellite and they were in actual Scott Fish. So I mean the two kind of worked obviously together, but one is like the creme de la creme, and one is like the play-ins is like the best way to think about it. It's like in March Madness, we're playing in the round of 68 here to try and get into the tournament. Is kind of the best way to think about it. But you're still talking with these huge names in the industries, and there's these big names that are tweeting about, oh man, like our 105 group chat is so sick, and then it's getting like 10,000 retweets, and it's like, man, like we're in that group chat. Like this has been a blast. So it was a lot of fun, and we got our own group chat going, and ended up one of the Dynasty Nerds guys ended up getting me in their Slack channel. So I've been chatting with some of the Dynasty Nerds in their Slack channel and kind of seeing what they do with their podcasts. And it's pretty cool. Like there's a whole Slack channel portion about who wants to talk in which podcast. And it's actually been a pretty neat experience. And snowballing, we talked about it on episode 12, the snowballing from one league into the other. We got into that other league now. So now the 306 football is getting into another league. So it's been really cool to be able to keep building, right? And that's the whole idea of this, is networking and getting to know other people. And we're starting to build a pretty significant, I'd say pretty significant following on Twitter, especially. Like we have a huge following on Twitter in comparison to Instagram. Instagram's been a little bit more fun and a little more local, where Twitter has gone to the United States. Like we talked about in our group chat that we have almost a bigger following in the United States than we do Canada at this point, which is not what we thought was going to happen when we started this podcast. So it's been pretty cool to network, and I'm fingers crossed that either A, I win my division and get into the main tournament, or B, get lucky enough to get the draw for the year following. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's like Zach had mentioned, it's cool to be a part of something this big, and obviously for the significant cause it is. So
that is awesome recap, guys, and yeah, it's good opportunities and for a good cause as well. So now we're going to move into your favorite picks from your teams and your least favorite picks from your teams, and I'm going to tell you guys my favorite picks from your teams as well. But I'm quickly just going to read an order of you picking them by last name, who you guys have on your team. Okay, so for Jordan's team, he went Allen, Barkley, Akers, Andrews, McLaurin, Fitzpatrick, Davis, Darnold, Robinson, Samuel, Brown, that's Antonio Brown, Connor, Beasley, Davis, Fisker, Marshall, Tre'Quan Smith, Palmer, Ali Cox, Shepard, Prater, and Cephas. And then Zach on his team, he got Herbert, Barkley, Aaron Jones, Swift, Carson, Carr, DJ Moore, Sutton, Thomas, Smith-Schuster, Big Ben, Trotman, Hines, Beasley, Parker, St. Brown, Edwards, Evans, Rogers, Ty Johnson, Ali Cox, and Bourne. So you guys actually have a little bit of parity on your team. You both got Barkley. You both got Ali Cox and Beasley as well. I think those were the big name, or all the names that I saw that were the same. I noticed though that Zach got the same guys as you, Jordan, in later rounds than you did, which is interesting to see. So probably just the way the draft fell, but kind of interesting to see. I'm going to start with Jordan's team. My favorite pick for him was Sam Darnold, actually, where he got him in the 8th round. I talked before about how I didn't think Sam Darnold was going to have a huge year this year. Like, it's not going to be a breakout. But I did also say that he's probably going to put up around what Teddy Bridgewater did. So he's not going to be an upgrade to Teddy Bridgewater, but that's still going to be dependable points for a super flex position. And that's good. So I think you're still going to get in best ball, Darnold's still going to get some playing time on your team, and he'll help you out quite a bit. And I like that pick.
Especially as my quarterback 3, I can't really complain with that too much.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the pick that probably got me the most excited was Saquon Barkley in like the late 2nd. I did not think he was going to fall to me. Now, obviously, with a little bit of the news that he might be questionable for week 1, that might make a little more sense why maybe guys weren't willing to take the gamble. I was also real happy with where I got Akers. I thought he slid to me as the late 3rd pick as well. But obviously, with the recent news, that's been a little bit of an unfortunate situation. But it was still, to me, I thought it was great value in the draft. The start of the draft, I was actually pretty happy with how it went. But kind of going in some of the value picks, like I reached on Antonio Brown, which I said from the start, I want him on my team. I think he comes with a safe floor with a potential of the high upside. So I reached for him a little bit, but I think probably for me, there's 2 picks that I think are like the best picks I could have made. One is James Conner in the 12th. With how important running backs are and how fast they went off the board, to get a potential starting and goal line back. I mean, he comes with the injury risk, but to get him as running back 43 in the 12th round, I think is a steal. Like I was kind of upset because coming on that turn, I know I was like talking about getting like guys stolen from me there. We'll talk about a little bit later. So it's kind of around that turn, but then all of a sudden I was like, man, I got to take James Conner in the 12th. Like that's incredible value. So I picked him up in the 12th, which I was very happy with. And then pick 17, like at the end of the 17th round with wide receiver 73, picking up Traquan Smith. He hasn't really boomed yet, but with the potential to be the receiver 2 in New Orleans there, and to pick up a number 2 receiver in arguably the end of the draft, I was pretty happy to pick that guy up, especially when guys are already starting to go kickers and like their 4th, 5th tight ends. I was real happy to pick up Traquan essentially at the end of the draft. So a couple pretty good value picks, and obviously I had to throw a Lions guy in there. I said to Zach when we were doing the draft, I said, I'm taking a Lion and I'm just going to take a receiver whenever the draft is done. Like whoever's the last receiver still there, I'm taking. And it was Cephas in the very end. And at that point, you throw a dart at the dartboard and it's going to hit somebody and nobody knows. So, I mean, everybody's jumping on the Monroe St. Brown train early just because he's a rookie. But I think Cephas has one of the better opportunities to be that breakout candidate. He's coming into year 2 of the with the Lions. He's the only returning receiver in that receiving room. So to get him at the very end of the draft and say I got a line on my team, I'm happy with that as well. So.
Yeah, Cephas is. I like that pick actually, and Connor. I think you might have convinced me that might be my new favorite for you actually.
To get a starting running back in the 12th, that's pretty good value, I think. So
yeah, and then Barkley sliding the way he does to the 2nd round. That I like these days ACL tears and then injuries. They're not as bad as they once were, and I think it's a lot easier to gamble on a guy coming off an ACL than it used to be. Now, Akers with that Achilles, we were talking before we started recording, that is scary. I hope that he gets a full recovery and that he can get his career back on track, because he looked like a really promising running back there. Could do it all, 3-down guy, and it's really sad to see that happen to him.
Absolutely.
All right, so Zach, my favorite pick for you, I'm going all the way to your 20th pick with Ty Johnson. I actually own him in Dynasty, and I've been holding on to him because I want to see how this New York Jets running back situation falls, whether it ends up being like San Fran or who just takes that starting role, because I think it's wide open between Pirine, Ty Johnson, and Coleman there, and then also Carter coming in as well. I think all four of those guys have potential to be the number one guy there. And Ty Johnson in the 20th round, if he ends up stealing that role or even being part of a RBBC there, he could put up some good value because he's a bit of a home run hitter. He may not have shown that yet in the NFL, but you look at his college and he can hit some big runs, which can get you big fantasy days in best ball there.
Yeah, absolutely. Ty Johnson, much like the last probably 6, 7 picks that I made, were all high upside picks. Ty Johnson been in the league now for a couple of years, but coming out of college, he had some really impressive metrics as far as athleticism. Home run hitter. So even if he's not that RB1 in New York, I think he has as good of a shot as any of those guys to carve out a role, especially with Salah coming over from San Fran. Who knows what they do? So
Gase did Johnson and Pirine dirty last year. Real giving Gore all those touches.
Old man Gore probably just told Gase, "Give me the ball."
Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Looking at like that pick, I'm looking at ours. Like he went early 20th, and I had him eyed up. There's a couple running backs I had eyed up in a row, and they all went right before my pick. But yeah, I would have. I was really eyeing him up to try and get him on the roster with the late round picks.
Yeah, like so deep there. It's just like you said, throwing darts, and maybe one of them sticks. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I could be cutting bait just as easily. Second week of the season.
For sure.
So Zach, that's your favorite pick on your team too, Ty Johnson, or do you have another one that you really like?
I'd say the one that I was really happy with would be in the 10th round. I have Juju Smith-Schuster as the third receiver that I took, drafted as the wide receiver 43. I waited on my wide receivers after going running back heavy. So around the 7th round, I was just taking the highest rated receiver that I had on the board, kind of knowing that I needed to fill that spot. I think Juju could probably be the best receiver for this scoring system that I have on my roster. Somebody that's going to get you first downs where you get a point. Somebody that's going to bring in a lot of receptions where you get points. So I was really pleased with him in the 10th round. So he would probably be my favorite pick that I made. Much like Jordan though, I knew I'd have a good opportunity to get a Patriot there in the 22nd round, and with Kendrick Bourne. Unfortunately, a very similar situation to the Lions receiver room. The Patriots have a bunch of new guys coming in, so I think it's going to be Jacoby Myers that wins the day and it's kind of that receiver one, but Kendrick Bourne has as good of a shot in a new team to take over a starting role there. So, maybe Kendrick Bourne's my wide receiver, like 3 that I got in the 22nd round. So
that's funny because in our dynasty league, I sniped Zach on the waiver wire to scoop up Bourne like mid off season. And then I dealt him like 2 days later and Zach's like, hey, that's a good pickup. He could be a good receiver. And all of a sudden I traded him because obviously somebody else had the same idea. So
like both you guys did the same thing with the homer receiver on the last pick, but I think you guys both did good. They're both guys who happen to be on your home team that could end up actually producing for you a little bit and being a valuable asset down the road. So now we're moving on to our least favorite picks from both of them. So Jordan, I know you're really, or I don't know if you're still high on him, but you used to be really high on him. But Deebo Samuel was my least favorite pick for you. It was a tough choice trying to figure out who my least favorite, but he turned into your wide receiver 2. You did get him in the 10th round, but I did look at some of the guys that on ADP. Now I don't know how it looked for you, but on ADP you have guys like Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams, Robbie Anderson, Chark, Landry, Samuel. Those kind of guys are in that range of where he's falling ADP wise. I don't know if they were available to you, but those are guys I would have taken over Debo, because I truly believe Ayuk is the number one guy there now, and Debo's more of, he's just a good football player, but he's not going to put up tons of points. But you can go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah. So at that point in the draft, I had only taken one receiver, which I took in the 5th round. I took Terry McLaurin. So I kept hammering running backs as value came to me, and then I needed to start getting on the receiver train. So I had a couple guys, high upside guys lined up. I was looking at like a Jerry Jeudy, who I am a fan of. Robbie Anderson was taken just before DJ Chark, and then Devonta Smith. So all guys that I had kind of eyed up had all gone. Our draft was very different compared to a lot of other drafts. Receivers went off the board quite quickly, which is why I found some running back depth later on as well. So then I was looking at guys like Debo, Michael Gallup, Laviska Shenault, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, Russell Gage, and then I ended up taking Antonio Brown right in that same breath. So it was guys that, well, Laviska Shenault was one that I kind of thought I could maybe get around later. I was interested in him because potentially being the number one in that offense. Mike Williams was a guy I was very interested in, but I thought I was going to get way later. So I thought he went quite a bit early. And after that, it was some question mark guys. So I thought with Debo, with especially in this scoring format, how often they get the ball in his hands, especially as a yak guy or like in those end rounds, in the half point first down scoring, he might be able to scoop me a few extra points in that fashion, especially being as a high upside wide receiver 2. So I'm not really relying on his production to be a wide receiver 1, but the upside. So kind of piggybacking off that, I took some really safe floor guys later in the draft, like Antonio Brown and Cole Beasley. And then I kind of hammered the upside guys following from there. So I figured as McLaurin, Beasley, and Brown, I'm pretty safe. And then let's hammer the upside. So, I mean, Debo might only play 8 games for me, but I'm really hoping that those 8 games are high upside guys. So it was at the point where I had hammered so many other positions and the receivers were flying off the board. I needed to kind of jump on the train. But I guess I'm just hoping that he stays healthy. He's one of those guys that if he plays the full season, then he has the potential, especially in an offense that I believe in. So especially where, well, let me see, you said that you like Ayuk. I agree with you. I like Ayuk too, but he went, let's see if I can find it here. I think he went wide receiver. He went in the late 6th. So for me to get Debo 4 rounds later, where they're kind of I would say a good 1-2 punch. So unfortunately I passed on Ayuk, but I jumped on Debo in that late of a run. So
yeah, like the ADP there, he did in your draft there slide a little bit because he's in the 90s for ADP and you got him in the 10th round. And how big is your league again?
There's 22 rounds, 12 teams.
12 teams, yeah. So in a 12-team league to get him in the 10th round at ADP in the 90s is good value still. Just some of the other guys in that range I probably would have rather picked, but that's why me and you have different teams too, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, don't hate Debo, but was my least favorite. It was tough to pick. Any guys you regret picking, Jordan?
Well, not that I can say it's because like Cam Akers, unfortunately, and it's not that I dislike the pick. I love the pick, but obviously that's I going into after the draft, I was looking at my team like, man, I'm actually really happy. I have 2 very safe running backs with some other high upside guys, but now my running back situation is a little bit thin. That's obviously nothing against Cam Akers. That's just a really, really tough situation. So, but I passed on Gibson to take Akers.
Yeah.
Mixon went before Akers. Najee went after. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was hoping was going to come back to me later on. He went. So I actually took Akers above Edwards, just kind of playing the game. I lost the game there. But the one pick that I shouldn't say not a fan of, but it can blow up my face is James Robinson. I got him at decent value. I got him at running back 32 late in the 9th round. So I feel like I got decent value there, but we know the situation, right? Like we know ETN's there now. That could be a tough situation. Robinson could be a borderline drop candidate by middle to late season, or he could be still the one. And I'm laughing that I took Robinson in the 9th round and I have a running back 1 again, right? But so I would say at that point, it's a pick that I'm like, it's a boomer bust pick. But I mean, in the 9th round, I'm willing to take a gamble on that. So I would say that's the one pick that I have my question mark on. So
biggest gamble, maybe not the least favorite, but
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Zach, looking at yours, I actually had a tough time picking my least favorite or biggest gamble for you. I ended up picking on your 18th pick here in Darrington Evans. Just nothing from Henry has shown me that he's injury prone or anything. I think he seems like he's got a solid body, and even though he's a between the tackles guy, I don't think he puts himself in a position to get injured because he just dominates guys anyways. And he's being the hammer and he's not the nail ever really. So I don't think Evans is ever going to see the field in Tennessee until Henry moves on or retires or something. So that was my least favorite pick of yours. Zach, what was your least favorite or biggest gamble, I guess, pick?
Well, like my thought process there with Evans was absolutely like Henry's their guy, but the recent reports out of camp have been really favorable for Evans as a satellite, kind of like a gadget guy they can get on the perimeter, maybe line them up in the slot at receiver. So again, like in the 18th round, like you're probably not going to get a guy that's going to be starting every week for you. So why not swing for the fences? Like it wasn't the deepest talent pool at that point. It was a lot of, secondary, third running backs, place kickers, backup tight ends on their team, like on their NFL team. So
yeah.
I definitely see where you're coming from though. Like not somebody that I have a lot of faith in or a lot of, hope in, but at running back 59, let's see what happens. So I guess the pick that for me that I regret making would be Derek Carr at the end of the 6th round at quarterback 21. I went quarterback to start my draft, and then I went 4 receivers in a row. Knowing that it's a super flex league, I knew that I wanted to come back with a quarterback fairly soon. And I was in that game of chicken that we had mentioned earlier. I draft based on tiers, so I tiered it out, and Carr was the number 1 guy in the tier, but I had a few other guys like Tua and Fitzpatrick in the same tier. So I was anxious, I was nervous. I didn't want to take the chance that I pass on Carr or on any of those guys, and then I don't have a chance to draft any of them. So I took Carr, and it kind of backfired on me because Trey Lance went 6 picks later, and then another quarterback didn't go for another full round. I would have had the chance to get Fitzpatrick with my 8th round pick had I waited, but you never know. So hindsight, maybe I could have waited and gone with, a receiver there or another running back. But at the time I was getting nervous that game of chicken was going to backfire. So pulled the trigger on Carr, maybe a round or two too early, but I really wanted to make sure I had a viable QB2.
I kind of liked your Carr pick when I first saw it. When you explain a little bit about it, it does make me not like it as much, but I still enjoy it because I think Carr is being slept on a little bit. I think he is going to take a step up this year. I don't think it's going to be massive and he's going to end up being QB1 or anything, but I think he's going to show a little bit more this year. He's got receivers that are a little bit more seasoned now and have some potential, right? So I am excited to see how Carr's season goes this year.
Yeah, like at the time I was happy with it. Heck yeah, I got QB2. But then as as the next 2 rounds unfolded, I thought, man, I could have went, Cooper Kupp. I could have went Deontay Johnson. I could have went Robert Woods. Like, hindsight being 2020, we don't have that luxury when you're on the clock. So
yeah. So moving on to the next piece here, the ones that got away. Zach, are there any players that you were just about to grab and they're just out of your reach? They got picked like a pick or two before you were going to pick them and you were pretty excited that they might fall to you.
Yeah, for sure. Putting on my homer cap here. Both Jakobi Meyers and Nelson Agholor went 1 or 2 picks before I had the chance to take them. In the 14th round, I went Cole Beasley at receiver as my wide receiver 4. And at the time I thought, all right, like, love this pick. This is a guy that's going to be getting me some first downs, going to be getting me a lot of receptions if he doesn't get COVID. Like, this guy, he's going to do well. All the while thinking I can come back in the 16th or the 17th round and get Jakobi Meyers. Wasn't concerned about anybody snapping him up. The very next pick, Jakobi Meyers went, and that was at the 12th overall pick. 2 picks later, I was going to be on the clock again at the 11-2 turn. Like, had I known that Meyers was going to be picked there, maybe I pass on Beasley and I take Meyers. So that was pretty frustrating. And then a few rounds later in the 16th, I thought, all right, Nelson Agholor sliding. No way is he going to finish the year as anywhere below wide receiver 60. This is going to be a great pick for me. And then right before my pick at 16.11, he went off the board at 16.10. And I was just like, oh, it's ruined my day. Like, I'm standing there like a loser at Pet Value getting dog food, and I'm just, my head's down like this and just shook. Everybody in the line probably thought, oh man, his dog died.
Dead dog food.
Yeah. No, it's worse. Agholor went, you don't understand. So, but with 1611, I took Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's somebody who I think has, at least a shot at being the number 1 receiver in Detroit. Jared Goff has always been somebody that has preferred the short to intermediate passing game, and that's kind of where Amon-Ra St. Brown did a lot of his work at USC. So he has a shot at producing, but would have much rather had Agholor, sitting on the couch on Sundays cheering on the Pats and being extra excited with Agholor. So he's one that got away for sure.
Yeah, that sounds so sad, Zach. I feel bad for you. Jordan, what was your pick that got away?
I'm gonna sound privileged here, but I didn't really have a moment where I was like, I got sniped. Like a couple times where I was like, man, I lucked out guys that I wanted falling to me or high value. They just kept dipping, and all of a sudden I ended up scooping them up. So my biggest one, I would say, was right around the 10-11 turn. I took, or so the 9-10 turn, I took Robinson, and then I had a bunch of players that I kind of liked, and they all went, and that's where I took Debo. And then coming up to the 11-12 turn, I took Antonio, and then I had I can't remember, I think I was going golfing, so I had 8 guys queued, and all of a sudden, all of them went. I didn't think all of them was going to go. It was guys like getting in my QB4. I was interested in getting 4 quarterbacks with some upside guys. Cam Newton was one of the guys I was considering. And then Taysom Hill's a guy I was considering, and they went in there. Damian Harris, running back from New England, was in that mix, and I had him queued up, ready to go. Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry, Jamal Williams. So the only guys was Pollard and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram went right before my pick, and that's where I ended up taking James Conner. So I wasn't super upset, but there was definitely some guys in there, like I would rather have Damian Harris than James Conner, but not that I was super frustrated at that point. But the only other run would have been I took Sterling Shepard in the 20th, and guys that were Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Ty Johnson, and then Darrington Evans went in front. So I ended up taking Sterling Shepard following. So there's some guys that I kind of had eyed up, but once again, it was kind of a late round dart throw. So I sound pretty privileged in the fact that I don't think I got sniped on too many picks, but there was definitely some guys that I really wanted that went significantly earlier than I anticipated. Guys like Mike Williams, guys like Jamal Williams. I'm trying to think here. There's a couple other guys that I was, Zach Ertz, a couple other guys that I was a fan of, but they went significantly higher than ADP, which that's the way she goes when you try to play the game a little bit. So, but overall, I was very happy with how the draft fell to me. So,
check your privilege, Jordan. So yeah, that's kind of bringing us to near the end here. So, gonna finish off. I'm gonna tell you guys out of the two teams here which one I ended up liking a little bit better. It was a tough choice. I was looking at it. And I ended up going with, I like Zach's a little bit better. I tried to do this with the lens on that Cam Akers wasn't injured yet, that we were going in with no Cam Akers injury here. I still ended up picking Zach's. He kind of followed what I talked about last week with my hot take here. He went running back heavy. He's got Barkley, Jones, Swift, Carson right off the bat there. 4 awesome running backs that I think can all put up good points there, and he can still withstand an injury. And then he took Hines as a late round pick there in the 13th, which could have been my favorite pick for him as well. Where Hines is a home run hitter, can put up big points at any given week, and in best ball, that's a great guy to have at that value. And then he found some great value in his receivers later on with DJ Moore, Sutton, Smith-Schuster, Beasley as his top 4 receivers. And you tell me you got a team where your top 4 receivers are those 4 guys. That's not too bad either. So I ended up just liking that, how it ended up falling to Zach a little bit more.
Zach, who's your first of all, one question. Did you take a place kicker?
No, they were going a little quicker than I anticipated. Like Koo went beginning of the 12th round, and then so and then there was a big run between the 14th and the 17th where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think 7 guys went in that ballpark, and that's where I was backloading my secondary receivers like Beasley, Parker, St. Brown.
Yeah.
Going a little bit weaker at receiver, not having any of like the top 20 guys. I knew that I wanted to have some depth there. So with the kickers going off in that same ballpark, I just decided to punt on the position.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was happy. I got Prater, so my former line. Man, he's got one of the biggest legs in the league, and he's on one of the highest powered offenses. And I got him in the 21st as the 13th kicker off. So I was like, whatever. If I'm going to take one, I'm going to take one now. Because I remember I told you guys I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, well, Prater's there. I'm doing it. All right, here.
Thinking in the dome must be nice too, eh?
Yeah, not in. We'll see what happens. So I'm hoping for the best. Just a general floor. Then my other question for you was, Zach, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, who's your tight end 1?
It's the one and only Logan Thomas.
That's right.
Former QB Logan Thomas.
That's right.
But he's got Troutman.
Yeah. So
I couldn't
that
get him that. He went early. He's another guy who went early in mine.
Thomas was, as the quarterbacks were falling, I was like, man, or the tight ends were going off the board. I thought, really need to get one of those before the 10th round. So he was one of the last guys in that upper echelon of tight end. So I went with him, but I knew that I wanted to get some insurance and backload him with another high upside guy. So hopefully Troutman comes through in a big way for me, and I don't have to rely on Thomas necessarily. I think a lot of Thomas's production was inflated last year, just with Washington not having as many weapons as they do this year, and Alex Smith being like the tight end whisperer,
Yeah.
loving those check down passes, whereas Fitzy's more of a let me throw it over those mountains kind of quarterback. So
Uncle Rico.
exactly.
Well, guys, that's our all the subjects that we were meaning to talk about on today's episode, and you guys kind of started with your final thoughts. But quickly before we sign off here, any final thoughts, Zach?
10 out of 10. I'll do it again if I get the chance next year.
I like it. Jordan?
Yeah, just I really enjoyed the experience. It was nice to connect with guys, and here's to hoping we make it into the Scott Fish 12 coming in next year. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous of you guys. Actually, next year I'm not going to procrastinate as much, and I'm going to make sure that I apply for the Scotty Fish Bowl here. But yeah, that's our episode for today, guys. That's episode 13. A little bonus episode for you. We're going to have episode 14 coming out pretty here soon as well, which will be our regular scheduled programming. And thank you guys for your support. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube, like our Instagram and Twitter. Just hit us up on all the platforms you can. We love the support. We love you guys. And have a great day, everyone.